we seem to be moving into a world of orthodoxy, austerity versus tax rises, and those are the only two things, the only two levers the government can pull. Now, actually, there's a lot of regulatory reform. There's a lot of economic growth related things that Lord Marland was just talking about that we need to do. And Rishi Sunak did say that Liz Truss was not wrong, that we're not growing fast enough, that the UK has not grown economically for a very long time at the rate that it could actually grow. And so the two areas where you're going to see potentially some growth are in our international trade agreements and are in our regulatory reform. And I think we need to focus on those things in order to generate economic growth. Otherwise, we're in this cycle, which is, I think, a false dichotomy between austerity and tax rises, and you won't see significant economic growth potential in the UK. Now, reform is difficult, as Liz Truss found out. They will be powerfully opposed, and therefore you've got to set the field. You've got to plan the reform. You've got to lay the battlefield, and that takes time. And unfortunately, we are heading into clearly a recession that may be quite long and quite deep.
But is the way to do this big trade deals? And again, the Prime Minister attempted to progress the idea of a trade deal with the United States of America when he sat down with Joe Biden at G20. He mentioned that he talked to Modi of India about the same sort of thing. Isn't it better to enable businesses like those that Lord Marland ran to say, you get out there and you cut the deals? Do we need big national trade deals?
Well, so what trade deals will do is they are like big pillars in your economic growth plan. They are long-term. The benefits are not going to be realized tomorrow, but they're about reducing the barriers to exporters' trade in other countries. But they're also about improving our own economy. Imports are as important as exports, and encouraging investment is as important as ensuring that UK can invest successfully abroad. And so the trade deals are only one part of it. I mean, I think you're right in suggesting that you tend to, the government and others tend to focus on trade deals exclusively to the exclusion of all else. But actually, the biggest gain that we'll have in the UK economy is regulatory reform. That's where the biggest economic gains are, and that's where the more medium-term gains actually will be. But, you know, we've had a long time since we've been able to look at regulatory reform, and we have really not done very much of it, if indeed any of it. And so that needs to be a focus of this government. And that is difficult. I mean, we have to not forget that regulatory reform is very, very difficult to do. It will be opposed by incumbents that benefit from the status quo. It will be opposed by a lot of people, and therefore you need to set the field. You need to plan how you're going to do it. And what I worry about is that in this return to an austerity, tax rise, macroeconomic perspective on what we do at this point, we will forget to do the microeconomic reform stuff that is actually really critical for businesses and for the economy.